Welcome back to the John Mendola Show here at WILK, 10:45 in the morning. Well, yesterday, the Southern Columbia Tigers, victorious state champions. Head Coach Jim Roth, gracious enough to join us again. And, Jim, welcome into the show.
Oh, thank you, and thanks for having me on.
Well, I know we have a lot of listeners down there in Columbia County and South and down your way. So I think it's great to chat with you a little bit and get a feel. And these things never get old. I'm sure it's another tremendous feeling for the young men of the program there at Southern Columbia and your coaching staff to see all that hard work pay off.
Oh, absolutely. And, this year was a year where we had an outstanding regular season. Ever since making it to Hershey last year and falling short in the finals, this group of players, this team, seemed to be determined to try to get back and change the outcome, and that's exactly what they did. And, you can talk about that. You can obviously say it after the game occurs, referring to last year's final game, but to really stay on track and to carry out that goal of getting back to a state final again and then winning it, it's a huge task. And some people even in the community might take it a little for granted because we've had success, but we as a staff, we couldn't be prouder of this group for just the way they were motivated after the finish last year and to go back and win a title this year, and really just the way they played throughout the playoffs was an unbelievable run for us.
I'm sure you're getting many young coaches leaning on you, asking you questions over the years. And how much change do you see over Southern Columbia over the years with you and your coaching staff as far as any adaptations and different things? I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago that, from a true wing tee to maybe it's changed a little bit there, but still some change?
Yeah, really, if we look at it over the long haul, and when I say that, I'm referring to 30-plus years that myself and some of my assistants have been with me, and then some of our younger assistants are more like 15, 20 years. So we have a lot of continuity in our staff. But I would say the two things we've learned is that more isn't always better when it comes to work and practice in season. I mean, the off season is one thing. You can hit the weights, you can speed train, you can do a lot of things. But in season, and especially if you're going to be playing a long season and a postseason, more is not always better. I mean, you want your players peaking at the end of the year. So we've tried to develop a program where we are kind of in tune with that, and we try to work the players throughout the season and in the postseason so that they're fresh for every game and ready for every game. That's something that's probably evolved over the years. And then we probably have simplified things. Instead of getting more complicated, I think we've simplified, and our philosophy is that we want our players as comfortable as possible and want them to be able to play fast. So as far as schemes are concerned, we're still what people usually refer to us as a wing T team, but as I always say, we're not textbook wing T anymore. We run wing T formations, we run some wing T plays, but we do a lot of things that really aren't wing T, and so it's just it's a combination. But to keep things simple and try to have our players as comfortable as possible so that they play fast on the field. That's our number one goal when it comes to X's and O's at this point.
Jim Roth from Southern Columbia joining us. They won a state championship yesterday afternoon. Jim, as far as time off here after winning a state championship, do you guys, still have a little, as you said, less is more sometimes, but giving them a little bit of time to kind of recuperate? And how many of these guys play other sports there at Southern Columbia? What percentage would you say?
Most of them are involved in other sports. The wrestling and basketball programs right now are hurting a bit. Well, they're not anymore because they got these guys back for this week, but they've been hurting here in the preseason without the football players. So most of them do participate. We have a big crossover right now with our wrestling program, which is a very strong program, and that's that's a real positive crossover when you're talking about combination of wrestling and football, and not that basketball is a detriment either. I mean, the athleticism there is also very good, but a lot of these kids are playing. The one area, and I've said this over the years, whether it be just talking to coaches or clinics or whatever, your line, unless they're heavyweight wrestlers or throwers in track and field, a lot of your bigger linemen are the guys that aren't as involved in numerous sports as a lot of your skill players. And I just think that's been a huge key to our success, is that, we've been able to maintain a program where we can get a nucleus of linemen in the off season who have more time available than some of these other players to get bigger and stronger. And I've always said, if you got the people up front, if you've got a good line, a good solid line, you can always find some high school skill players that can function and make things happen. I mean, they may not be Julian Fleming or Gage Garcia types, but you can find somebody to get the job done if you can handle the other team up front. That's where it all starts. So that's been a big key, and that's usually a big emphasis for us. Pretty shortly after yesterday, the season ends. It won't be too long. We'll have, especially a lot of those bigger guys in the weight room, working already for next year.
What is it about Fleming that everybody loves, and is Garcia gauging interest as well?
Yeah, Gage hasn't gotten near the interest that Julian has to this point, but Julian is just a type of player that he makes everything look easy, and he has so much natural ability. There were two plays yesterday that I think just typify the kind of level that he's at already as a sophomore. Both him and Garcia. There was one play for each of them that kind of stood out, and Fleming's was early in the first series when they had the ball. A kid broke into the open field with the ball, and he came up from behind and basically punched the ball out of his hands from behind, and we recovered it, went down to score, and they never really had any much offensive momentum the rest of the game, but those types of things. He also came from far left on the field to almost the right sideline to create some interference on a downfield block on the first play of the second half, where Garcia went 60-some yards for a touchdown. When college scouts see those kinds of things on top of the natural ability, and he's been double covered all year for the most part, and has 60, almost 70 catches for 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. So, he's had to learn how to get open, and it's just combination of everything. Defensively, he was always on their best player as a receiver, the other team's best receiver, and I can probably count the catches against him this year on one hand. And then the other play I was referring to, Garcia catches a pass right before the half. There's seconds on the clock, and he catches the ball inside the 5 and basically carries 3 guys into the end zone. And he knew perfectly well the time situation and so forth. And again, those kinds of plays from sophomores, it's just, it speaks a lot to them as football players, aside from the ability factor.
Coach, congratulations on another state championship. They all feel great, and proud of you here, and I'm sure all the football communities, whether it's District 2, 4, or 11, people know you and your program is outstanding. So we wish you the very best. Have an enjoyable holiday season with your family, Coach.
Hey, thanks a lot, and same to you.
All right. Jim Roth, the head football coach at Southern Columbia. They were winners yesterday in the state championship game in a large fashion, a big shutout for them. We come back, Enrico Mastriani from the Marywood men's basketball program will be with us, and then we'll wrap it up here on the John Mendola Show. Let's head out now to our local State Farm insurance agent, Jeremy Baczynski. Break like a good neighbor. Jeremy Baczynski is there. We'll be back in WILK.